Okay, good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back to Phatkat Collections. Today I'm going to do another reaction video. And for those who are new to the channel, if you just discovered this, these live reaction videos are mainly for my subscribers. You know, those are usually the folks who are going to watch this kind of stuff, the folks who've been following me for a while and just want to hear what I have to say. Now, just so you guys know, the title of the video is Watch Expert, and that's a keyword title. Under no circumstances do I claim to be a watch expert. I have a lot to learn about watches, and ultimately, usually an expert wants to really, I guess get better and better, acquiring more and more knowledge about a particular topic. I'm not really too concerned with being a watch expert. I'm just a watch enthusiast. I love collecting watches. I love reviewing watches, and I got a lot of enjoyment adding it to my collection, just like I do lots of other things, leather jackets, cologne, cowboy boots, but watches is the item I have the most of, right? And so I do like to share that with you folks. And there's a lot of people who will discover the channel who are kind of getting into this hobby or who are already in this hobby and looking to maybe add a watch to their collection. And I mainly started YouTube, and when I started watching YouTube for like Invicta watches was to see what the watches look like on the wrist and just kind of get a different perspective of what the watch looks like on video as opposed to just seeing like high resolution perfect pictures. Because let's face it, you know, the old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words isn't always true a lot of times. You can go to like AliExpress, DHgate, look at some of those iced out watches. They look incredible, but when you get them, they're, you know, sometimes they're not all they're cracked up to be. And that's not to overgeneralize that category of watches, but just to you know, just kind of give you an example. So I'm going to just kind of begin. Normally I'll wait for folks to kind of pop in here. We have one person in the on the stream right now, Spider Web. I don't recognize that name, probably new to the channel, so welcome. And today I'm going to be reacting to the Mad Watch Collector. Now, arguably, the Mad Watch Collector is a super popular channel, and a lot of times, to be honest with you folks, it does kind of make me scratch my head sometimes at the folks who become really popular. And I'm not saying that as an insult at all. I always feel like you can learn something from other YouTubers who have found, I mean, this guy's got an insane level of success on YouTube. Just like guys like, and I'm not comparing this gentleman, Archie Luxury, you know, Nico, whatever his name is, right? There's a lot of guys in the watch community who are, you know, I'd say have a pretty good knowledge of, you know, the mechanics of a movement, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, these are relatively simple machines. And there's not really, you know, I don't really consider these things really high tech, you know. But if you do like watches like I like watches, you might enjoy what I have to say. And a lot of times when I do these critiques, I am going to critique what the YouTuber says. And I do find this was actually recommended, this particular YouTuber was recommended by Syndicated Satellite. He's got another YouTube channel where he talks about watches, of course, and a lot of the watch snob comments, and talks about other YouTubers. And I feel like a lot of times these videos are pretty popular on YouTube, just these critique videos. So we'll see if we get anybody in the chat. Again, I'm just kind of experimenting with these types of videos, and we'll see if it proves to be something that sorry, get the chat back on here, is worth my time, right? So let's go ahead and begin the video. If any of you guys pop on here while it's playing, great. Drop a comment, say hello, and here we go.
Today I'm going to talk about the watches I'm going to buy in 2025. And if I buy some, I've got to sell some. Let's get into it! Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Today is very exciting because I get to plan out which watches I'm going to purchase in 2025.
All right, so right off the bat, we're looking at more luxury brands. Probably not somebody I'm going to relate to a lot when it comes to our watch collecting styles. And remember, at the end of the day, like I say that loosely, ultimately you buy what you like, you buy what makes you happy. Sometimes there's watches that I'll add to my collection that are like $20 watches, really inexpensive, but they just kind of do something for me. It may not be a watch I wear all the time, but it's just fun to get something new in your collection. And, you know, a lot of times I don't get to share it off with, or share it with a lot of people like in public, because I don't really do a lot as far as going into social environments. But it is kind of fun for a couple of friends that I have, and my family, of course, and you guys on here. You know, I think it's kind of fun to just share what you're into, hear what other people have to say, and to get other people's opinions on it too. And a lot of times when it comes to whether I like luxury brands or not, you folks know I'm not a fan of luxury brands. Nothing against them. They're beautiful. They're great watches. They're just extremely overpriced, in my opinion. So again, a lot of times if you look at a lot of the YouTubers with these big channels, they are kind of focusing on the brands that are more top tier, right? They're more the expensive brands. And I'm not really sure if that has to do with because there's this misconception that, you know, you have to spend $5,000 plus for a quality watch. I'm not sure what it is, but this guy definitely has a lot of energy. So let's see what he has to, let's move forward, see what he has to say.
But it's tinged with sadness because there may be watches in my collection that I need to say goodbye to.
All right, I'm not really sure why you'd need to say goodbye to unless you're trying to overextend what you want to purchase. The nice thing about affordable watches is you generally don't have to say goodbye to them. They're affordable, right? But I get it if you are looking at adding, you know, a $10,000 watch to your collection, you might need to sell some in order to gain some money. To me, that means you can't really afford the watch that you're buying. Now, I do this sometimes when it comes to a watch, if it's something I just don't really wear. I generally don't get sick of watches, but with me, it's a little bit different. Sometimes, you know, I may buy, when I get something I really like for instance, just an example, an Invicta Grand Octane, I had like 9 or 10 of them. A couple of them just didn't get any wrist time. So there might have been something else I want to add to my collection where I'll go ahead and sell one, sometimes for a little bit of a loss, sometimes for a little bit of a profit, but ultimately that's kind of the only reason I end up selling a watch.
2024 was a huge year for me. I parted ways with a record number of watches to try and squeeze my collection down to only having ones I regularly wear. I have a...
All right, so, you know, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that kind of styling, but that style of watch collecting. I don't know why you'd want to squeeze down your collection to ones you actually wear. I feel like the fun of collecting is having that watch you rarely wear where you like, oh, I have that. You know, it's always a watch I can kind of pull out. But again, that's just my opinion how I like to collect. I very rarely will get rid of a piece because it is something to add to the collection. It's something to grow the collection. And I think it's kind of fun to have an obscene amount of watches. Again, that's personal preference, absolutely.
A 10-watch Seiko collection, and if I get a new Seiko this year, I promise myself not to go over 10. So one from the old 10 has to make way for a new one. Them's the rules. 20.
Lots of energy. Again, haven't really got any kind of real knowledge from this yet, other than a lot of like real excitement. I guess I just don't understand this kind of type of reviewing. Again, not knocking at all. This, most people, I would say, would prefer this because this is a very successful YouTube channel. I just find it really interesting. Not to knock anybody at all, but it is interesting. Just, this is, whatever brands that he likes, maybe we'll find out. I just don't see this as this guy being a snob. You know, I just feel like he's just a regular, down-to-earth dude like myself. Just really passionate about watches. But I'd have to say, like, if you're, I saw like a couple Seikos in there. If you're going to unload some watches, you know, a Seiko is not a watch that, if the argument's made that luxury watches are going to appreciate in value and you're always going to be able to get your money back, then, you know, he is going to take a loss of some of these ones that aren't Rolex, right? So, you know, if you can't make money or if you're pissing your money away like a lot of folks tell me, you got a bunch of 450 watches of shitters, you're throwing your money away, blah, 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 blah. You know, I mean, the Seiko, that's the same thing with Seiko too. Like nobody's gonna buy a year-old Seiko for top dollar brand new price if you've only had it for like a year, right? It has to be something really special and maybe not made anymore. It's desirable.
2025 also marks the 5th year this channel has been going for, which obviously
killing it. 5 years.
I need a watch to celebrate that. Them's the rules. 2025 is also going to be the year of me actually purchasing a Citizen. Yeah, I know. There's a couple of interesting releases from Casio.
I'm not sure why that would be like, I guess I don't understand the little joke there, like I'm actually going to purchase a Citizen, like maybe this was beneath him at one point. I might be reading into that, but why would you not? Like I have a Citizen, thank you Mr. Perez. There's been a few Citizens that I have been eyeballing over the years. So, okay.
Casio coming up soon as well. But before we talk about all these lovely watches, I have to talk about today's sponsor, who are Clockwork Republic, the go-to premium FKM rubber strap company for anyone that loves a Seiko, which means a lot of us. They make...
FKM rubber is pretty generic. I mean, there's lots of companies making that. You're probably going to pay a premium for this. Not sure how much you got paid for this advertisement, but good for him.
Beautiful premium straps with solid stainless steel end links designed to go with all our favorite watches.
Now, that is something I've been talking about for countless times about Nubeo watches where they make these proprietary straps. This is fantastic. Now, I'm sure this company probably only makes them for Seiko, this aftermarket proprietary strap that has the adapter links. This is something I've said many, many times, that if a company's going to use, just use Nubeo as an example, an FKM rubber strap, whatever the strap may be, if it's not bracelet, there is potential for FKM, for silicone, to leather, for all those materials. Leather probably not as much as like rubber. I just worry about dry rotting, right? And the thing falling apart at one point. If you have a standard lug width, it's great that you could just buy any standard 20 to 24 millimeter. That's kind of like the standard lug width. You can just find a replacement and not have your watch just be useless. For some of the Nubeos, I do wonder, 25 years down the road, 20 years down the road, are those watch straps still going to be in good condition? Now, arguably, I feel like that this is going to be a problem with really anything rubber, unless they've made improvements. I'm not sure about the composition of FKM rubber. However, I have an old G-Shock from back in like the early 80s that like the rubber is gone. It's just straight up like metal shell now. It is rotted, fallen apart. So, I love this idea. I've said it many times. Again, companies should start making adapter links for some of these other watches out there. This way you're never going to be able to get a strap. So pretty cool.
If you want to up your wearability and comfort this year with your Seiko watches, you need to get on the Clockwork Republic website.
It is an advertisement. There's no more comfortability with rubber, silicone, and again, it is subjective. I find stainless steel just as comfortable as any material out there. So again, we're marketing here, but anyway.
Purchase a beautiful strap and thank me later. So first of all, let's talk about Seiko, because I promised myself to stick to only 10 Seiko watches. Might not stop me buying one though. No, I've had my eye on these two watches for some time. I've been waiting for the price to go down, because like all Seikos, if you give it enough time, you will find a good price for them.
I think it's a straight up overgeneralization, to just think that time will make the Seiko watches cheaper. I don't know. I think it really comes down to supply and demand. Seiko, like any other company, Invicta, Aragon, whoever it may be, if they make a watch that turns out to like not be really popular, then they're going to lower the price a little bit. So,
starting with the SSK023, the GMT Seiko came out with last year. Really love the dial, really love the case, and I really like the bracelet. It's a
plain Jane. Overpriced.
39mm watch that fits a little bit smaller than that, and I can
Oh man, I hate this. I hate when YouTubers are talking about how things wear different. It's a 39mm, but it wears different. How could it wear any different than 39mm? Again, my argument is that if you're looking at a 58mm Invicta that actually measures, if you're looking at 58, that's where watches are measured at the bezel. If you're looking at a 58mm Invicta and the watch has, an extra 15mm of function pusher, crown guards, and crowns, then that is going to wear. Like, it's a 58mm watch, but it wears like a 70. It wears larger because of all the extra gingerbread. When you look at a 39mm watch with a little itty-bitty crown, that's no different than any other itty-bitty crown. A 39mm watch wears like a 39mm watch. It doesn't wear any smaller. And so I don't understand this. I feel like this is just typical YouTube, like, copy other YouTubers lingo. It's like what they all say. So I don't get it.
Definitely see me wearing this watch. And when you know in your head you can see yourself wearing this watch, you should go and get it, right?
I agree, absolutely. If you see a watch and you can picture yourself wearing it, it may not always have to be that for everybody. Sometimes you just see a watch and you're like, I like it. You don't have to visualize yourself wearing it, but everybody's different. Absolutely. Oh, welcome, Kyle Jet. Spider took off, but welcome, man. Critiquing the Mad Watch Collector today. I'm not sure. Normally we get more people in these. I'm not sure if running this software I'm running, maybe it doesn't quite hit the YouTube keywords right. But anyway, thank you for joining us, Kyle. Hopefully we get more people. So, again, yeah, picture yourself wearing it or not. I just don't really, when I see a watch I like, I know I like it, and I know just it comes down, do I want to spend the money on it? Francisco, I am going to stop here. Hopefully you guys can see the comments. Francisco is disagreeing with me. He said, not true. The lug to lug makes a great difference. Yeah, no, I agree with that as well. If you have an exceptionally long watch, then that might wear it larger. But in this case, we're looking at a round 39mm Seiko with standard lugs. There's nothing over the top with these lugs that make it wear smaller than a 39. They're not extra small. They're not extra large. They're pretty much generic. So this this is said with many different round basic watches. And frankly, if you have a watch that has, like for instance, just to put in an example, this Oceaniva is a standard round watch, right? The lugs are what they are. Remember, when you're looking at a watch that is round, right? The lugs have to be a certain length for you to clear the bracelet. Now, this is a flat-ended bracelet, so naturally it barely fits on here, but it does fit. There is clearance. If you had a bracelet that had a curved section here, again, the lugs can maybe be a little shorter, but for the most part, the lugs have to be a certain length for clearance purposes. So that's like me saying this, I don't know what it is, 40mm watch, oh, it wears larger. The lugs are exactly what they are on anything else. So... But Francisco, my man, I definitely understand what you're saying. You're correct if you had more of a longer watch, right? Or let's say you had a square watch. If you had a square watch that was a 38mm watch, again, it's 38mm in all directions, so it would wear like a larger than a standard round 38. But in this case, this doesn't make any sense for him to mention this.
Shut up, you. Even though I do have a GMT in my...
Yeah, I mean, look at those lugs. I mean, they're small, a little smaller than this Oceaniva, but not by much, so...
Seiko collection with the SPB.
And that's even a different watch than he was talking about before.
411. There's always room for one more, isn't there?
I totally agree. There's always room for one more watch.
The other watch I would love to own is the tanned Saytona, the SSC 817P1. Now, last year I did buy a solar-powered chronograph, which was in the same colours as the 6139 Vogue. These SSCs are slightly smaller in 39mm, and it's a chance.
And I'm just going to pause real quick. And whenever I see a comment, I will respond. Francisco just says, sorry for my English. I'm Italian. Well, welcome, man. Your English is fine. And he said, however, I love your videos and the Mad Watch Collector, too. Absolutely, man. Definitely. This video isn't to knock. Sometimes I will knock YouTubers, but I'm not knocking this guy at all. I'm just going to give my opinions in a respectful way. Because this guy seems like like what we look for in like fellow watch collectors. Not snobbish, not over the top. Just, well, he is high energy. But yeah, he seems like a decent dude for sure.
To get one of these lovely chronographs on a Clockwork Republic strap, because I think chronographs on rubber
that's expensive
look
for a strap.
flipping awesome. If I was to buy one or both of these Seikos, which one out of these 10 would get the boot? It's too hard to decide now.
I just don't get why you'd want to have to get rid of a watch. Why would you get rid of one to buy another? I mean, again, this is his style of collecting, I guess. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, these are affordable watches. I'm not sure, and I don't know his budget, but I think he's probably doing pretty well on YouTube. I don't know, hey, but that's his prerogative, right?
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Yeah, see, it's amazing to me. Like, I'm not trying to knock this guy, and I'm not trying to be jealous in any way. Like, I wish my channel was this successful, and obviously more people like this guy than me, and that's okay. But I mean, like, I just find it annoying to like beg to hit the like. Over the top, not my style of reviewing, but man, kudos to him, good on him. I mean, he's killing it.
Thank you.
Citizen. So yes, this year I am going to buy a Citizen. I promise. And it's a Citizen I've had my eye on for a long time. It's a particular reference that I don't think is being made anymore. It looks like it's come straight out of the 90s, and we are talking about the Aqualand. This is like the affordable...
All right, so that's just a watch. I mean, I don't think I would spend my money on it personally, but it is harder for me to rationalize making a purchase on a watch because I get so many, 5 or 6 more coming, sent to me for review. So when I do spend my own money on a watch, it's really got to be something that really calls out to me. But I do think this is super unique. Absolutely, a watch like this draws me in and sparks my interest a lot more than the other Seikos he was showing. Very cool. I'm sure he's going to talk about some of the features on this. I love when they have technology in watches. Pretty cool. Chris, welcome, my man. He just says sometimes you find a piece you're not wearing anymore, but you want to do one. I don't know what he means. So you're the old one that you don't. Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying earlier. If I have a certain piece in my collection that, like, for instance, I sold 2 Invicta, or they Grand Octanes. I had like 10. But it's 10 of the same watch, right? So like, if I only had 1 or 2, I wouldn't have sold it. I sold it because when I go for a Grand Octane, I wasn't wearing the black and blue Batman style. I wasn't wearing the tiger eye checkered face, right? And they were mint condition, so I sold them. I actually made money on each one of those watches. Again, not thousands of dollars, but 30, 40 bucks. It was a win-win. I was able to take that money. I think I ended up getting that really thick diver, the Steel Dive. What is it? Man, I drew it a blank. The H2O homage watch, right? Anyway, so yeah, no, I totally get it. But I mean, in this case, he doesn't have that many as far as Seikos. And hey, like I said, not knocking it, do how, it's his money, his collection. But I just wouldn't. I'd feel bad like getting rid of one of my watches because I know I'll come back when they'd be like, why did you get rid of that? But maybe maybe when he was starting out, maybe he picked up some watches that you have to kind of start somewhere, and maybe they were affordable. You want to step up in something a little more expensive. I get it.
The budget version of the Omega Pro Prof, a very rudimentary.
I don't agree with that at all. This doesn't look anything like the Omega Pro Prof. I think I'm saying that right. If you want a really nice, I would direct him. If you want a really nice, affordable homage to a Pro Prof, check out the RGMT that I have. I have 3 of those. It is like 1-to-1, I think, for the most part, with size and everything. This doesn't. I understand the Proplof has the helium release valve kind of off to the side and north. This is, I'm not sure what this thing is on the side here, but that's a very loose way of comparing the two.
Diving computer with a very cool dial. I don't have too many Digi watches, and I actually think I will keep hold of this one. Yes, it is a criminal offence not to own a Citizen, but Citizen have never really made a watch that I thought, wow, I need that one. With the Aqualand, well, I think I found the reference.
Hello.
Now, a couple of other brands that I think I should have in my collection for 2025 is Squale. I did used to own the 1521.
Yeah. As generic, Francisco just said depth sensor. That's cool. Yeah, Squale, I mean, other than wanting it just to have a Squale in your collection, there's nothing on this watch that can be had with a Pagani design, right? I mean, this is very generic. Again, there's a lot of times I will reach out to a brand just to get one in my collection to kind of confirm, hey, this watch isn't no better or worse than anything else out there, but this doesn't really do anything for me. It's so generic.
Blue Ocean with the polished case. That watch was phenomenal and one of my favorite watch cases I've ever owned. But
I mean, if he's referring to this, I don't see how this is like unique in any way. This is a generic round watch. There's no more beautiful or less than the other 9,000 watches out there.
It was time to part with it. I don't regret losing it because I know it went off to a good home. However, I'd like to experience the 1521 case in a different colour, and I have had my eye on the 1521 Militaire. Really cool, legible dial.
By all means, buy what makes you happy, but I just, for me personally, when I'm looking at collecting, I get excited about watches that don't look like everything else that's out there, right? So to me, this is like as generic as you could possibly get. But again, that's the cool thing about collecting watches, is that there's something for everyone.
This watch is right up my alley. Comes with a tropic rubber strap, housing a Sellita SW200. I found this for around £850.
$850? That's crazy. You can pick up this Oceaniva, which, I mean, is unbelievable. Oceaniva, again, I am affiliated with them. They do send me watches, so I do get commissions from them. But, I mean, this Oceaniva, when it comes to these more generic, I'm going to say Rolex-style watches, and I don't necessarily mean that, because that's not really what Oceaniva was going for. It's just anytime we have a round watch with a crown at the 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock position, standard lugs, like, people just constantly compare them to a Submariner, and that's just really not true sometimes. So I would much rather have this for $399, Damascus steel, Sellita SW200. I mean, this watch is an incredible value, half the price. I mean, I think a Squale is frankly a ripoff.
Pounds, and this is a watch I would wear. Longines.
Well, I would hope so. Adrian, what's up, my man? Welcome. He said, yeah, buying a watch is pretty simple to me. 1, do I like it? 2, can I afford it? The rest specs are bonus. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people on YouTube make this out to be like this is some insane process, and it might very well be more of an in-depth process if you're going to invest $20,000 of your money on a fucking stainless steel watch. You might really want to look at the market, look at what you're getting it for, look at if it's pre-owned, how has this been maintained, because you're hoping to get your money back. People who buy watches who don't care and that have a love for that particular watch do not care about getting their money back. They're buying it to wear it. But unfortunately, in this world of grifters and wannabe watch traders and snobs out there, a lot of people are always worried about getting their money back. They're like, I gotta get my money back. It's gotta be investment. And ultimately, I don't think they really love the watch, you know? So, to me, like Adrian said, extremely simple. You see a watch, ooh, I like that. That's as simple as it gets. There's not like this big pondering like, oh my God, I really gotta look at research. I think it's so funny when YouTubers are like, do your research. It's like, dude, you're just doing a Google search. You're not like you're not doing in-depth research like some kind of cancer study research, right? It's just absolutely ridiculous, but they all use the same talk. But again, whatever.
Longines are definitely a company I'd like to have a watch from. I've just never found one I've actually fell in love with, but I'm hoping to find a good Longines this year.
Okay, another generic watch, a Longines. I think I'm saying that right. Like, what would make somebody want to spend this much money on this watch? Like, I get it if you want to get a standard style watch, right? Whoa, 850 pounds. Welcome, Chris. That's crazy, dude. Crazy. Yeah, and here's that little thing a lot of watch snobs don't want to get their head around. Markup. That's it, you know? Longines, another one. Like, what? 3-link bracelet, generic round case, generic crown protectors, right? Generic crown. I mean, this is as generic as it gets. Why would one want... And again, I'm not saying don't... Like, if you love this and this is what makes you happy, like, by all means, get it. But there's no desire for me to have this. This is another, in my opinion, Submariner homage. A few little changes. Why would you spend tons of money on this
year? Now, I said that 2025 marks the 5th year of the Mad Watch Collector channel, sort of. And I'd like to celebrate with a nice purchase of a watch, like a milestone watch. And I would like to dip into titanium again. Around 2 years ago, I reviewed the Pelagos 39. And apart from it being titanium,
another watch company that's extremely overrated, like generic. You can get a titanium watch for a fraction of the cost on that thing. But again, I just want to be very clear. If it makes you happy, the only reason anybody would buy that watch is because they can't afford the Rolex, or they don't want to rationalize the cost on a Rolex. But this is what I consider like the watch, like the safe watch snob purchase. It's for the guy who's like wants to get a watch but doesn't want to get knocked about it or anybody, right? It's like there's really no reason to buy this Tudor over anything else. It's extremely marked up, extremely, to me it's a ripoff. But again, if it makes you happy, then buy it.
I thought it was one of the best watches I've ever reviewed. That titanium made the watch very, very light. I hadn't experienced titanium a lot and just couldn't get on with the weight.
So titanium to me is not something like a lot of folks. I just wonder what they like. I get, I get the allure on titanium. One, super strong, right? But doesn't make stainless not strong, right? I mean, it's stronger than stainless, but for your wrist, it's not going to make any difference. It is lightweight, and me personally, I prefer to feel a little heft on my wrist, right? That's just, I prefer to feel like I'm wearing a watch. I've never really been a huge fan of titanium. I have them, I do wear them, but I just feel like I'm wearing something flimsy, right? And that's not the case. That's just going off feelings, which isn't really, that's not a measurable... it's measurable for me, but it's not a measurable, like, quality difference, right? So I understand, like, I'm not really a big fan of titanium either. I definitely respect it. It's great, but it's not gonna, like, there's no reason to pay a premium on it. I just wonder when guys are like, oh, it's titanium, so much more comfortable. Like, I get why you'd use titanium. Let's say you needed a metal that was extremely strong, but you saved a lot of weight. If you start looking at something that's heavy, right? I don't know if they make titanium ships. Probably not. But let's say there's an extremely heavy part and you're going to make it out of titanium. Like something you need super strong for lightweight, or something that you need, like, let's say, for the argument's sake, a car. I don't know if they use titanium in cars, but let's say you have a car and you're trying to save weight to increase the 0 to 60 times or quarter mile times, then titanium would be a great choice. But there's no need for titanium in a watch. Do we have a world full of people who are so sensitive that this little lightweight stainless steel is like, ooh, it hurts? I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody here, but it is kind of laughable. Again, I feel like titanium is just another manufacturer desire. It's like, oh, it's lightweight and strong, but does it need to be lightweight? You know, so just my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right.
Since then, however, I am now an owner of a titanium Seiko Landmaster, which is a beast, by the way, and I'm slowly coming round to titanium. And on my radar,
I just don't feel like you should have to. I just feel like this is overly dramatic. Again, more power to him. This obviously works on YouTube. But it's like, I'm coming around to. Like, this was some big life decision. It's like, fuck, dude. Like, you see a titanium watch, you fucking buy one, you don't like it, you throw it on eBay, take a $200 loss, whatever. You know, it's just. I just don't know why people have to hem and haw over buying a watch.
for this year is a Pelagos 39 or the
These are all Watch Snob approved, by the way.
original FXD. I reviewed that watch last year, and I was very surprised how good it looked on my wrist.
All these watches look exactly the same. Like, how could you be surprised at how good this watch looks when it looks just like every other watch, right? I mean, it shouldn't surprise you. You should, if you see a Tudor watch and you're like, okay, I want to get a Tudor in my collection. Let's just go through the process here. All right, I'm a watch collector. I like the more expensive brands. I want to get a Tudor, right? Forget about all the other brands. I want to get a Tudor, and you're like, I want to get a Blueface Tudor, and you get it. You should not, like, you don't need to get it on yours. Be like, wow, I'm surprised at how good this looks. Like, it looks like every other fucking watch out there.
I do feel that one of those two watches are coming to the madhouse soon. Out of those two, which would you pick? Now, let's talk about Casio, because there's an
All right, so now we're going to go into Casio. Somebody's catch up here. Yeah, I'm not sure the conversion either. I usually figure on about double. So I would say the conversion to US is probably $1,500 on 850. And, oh, Adrian just said about 1035, so I was wrong. And then Chris just said, oh, 44. I guess that's percentage maybe. And then Chris just said too much for that. Well, I know you guys are like reading this as well, but in case you're listening to it, I'm just reading it back. So let's dive into Casio. Let's see what the gentleman has to say.
interesting year for them. When it comes to G-Shocks, I am definitely going to get their reissue of the original G-Shock, which is the DW5000-R. That watch is going to come in a stainless steel case with a screwed down case back, just like the original watch. It's going to look like the original watch. It's going to have that brickwork look around the display. It's going to look awesome. It's going to cost an arm and a leg. It's
going to look generic like every other Casio G-Shock, but again, you buy what makes you happy.
not going to have the functions like a 5610U, but I will buy it. The other release that's coming out very soon, like it could be today, and it is completely out of left field until you understand the company, Mr. Casio. The first product he ever brought to market was a ring that you could put a cigarette in so your fingers wouldn't get dirty, and you could also be practical with your fingers. I don't know.
Ridiculous.
What you'd be doing while smoking, but so a ring that is also a watch does now make sense. But does that mean everyone's going to be walking around telling the time on a ring? Probably not. But being a mad watch collector and an absolute Casio-holic, I've got to buy it to show it off to you. You mug? Yeah.
And that's kind of thing like that. You're probably only buying it to show it off on the YouTube channel. I don't really believe that there's a love for this watch. How could you really get that excited about a watch that's just you've seen all over the place?
Long-term goal, as always, it will probably not happen this year, and I don't expect it to. It would have to mean I sell a lot of my collection, but I do, at some stage, want to own a Rolex 14060.
I just don't understand this. Like, all right, so there's no watch that I'm like, oh man, I would love to own it. Because if there was a watch out there that I really wanted so bad, I would not be buying any other watches, right? If my desire was to own this Rolex, for example, and I don't know what this costs, just say $20,000. If that was my, like, man, I love it, I have to have it. When you're that passionate about something like that, then I wouldn't have 470 watches. I would be unloading them. Yeah, I get it, watch snobs. Oh, you get $50. Well, you know what? $400, 450 watches, 460, 70 watches, even getting $50, I'm going to be able to get, you know, my Rolex, right? I'm be able to put a huge chunk of change towards whatever watch I want to get. So again, you know, all watches, no matter what the price point, no matter what the brand name, have value. They may not have insane amount of value, but you'll get something for them. So to me, if I had a love for this watch, I would start to be making moves in order to get this watch. This watch does nothing for me because I have so many that look exactly like this that are just as nice. So I just don't see the point. I don't see the allure with this watch. But again, I'm going to repeat myself, always buy what makes you ultimately happy. That's all that really matters. But I just don't get it. And I just would think that this gentleman, dude, this gentleman his YouTube channel is, let me just show you guys something here. I know 272,000 subscribers. This video has 29,000 views in 2 days. Let me just do a little math for you folks here. 29, this is not 100% accurate, but 29,000 views, say 30,000 views, in 2 days is roughly going to generate him in ad revenue. Again, there's lots of factors here, but you can safely assume that that's going to get him about $200, right? This is one video. Like, his videos kill. Like, his channel as a whole is probably, and you could pull this up on Social Blade and get an example of how many views that he gets. You know, his channel is probably doing, rough guess without looking at the numbers, I'd probably say he's making well over $4,000 a month with YouTube. So I just don't understand. Like, that's pretty easy making that to be able to buy a Rolex. Now, granted, this may be his full-time job, so that, you know, definitely, you know, I kind of use YouTube as a supplementation. And even if my YouTube channel was killing it, I just feel like I put in more time making videos due to how many I make than a lot of these channels who make a shit ton of money on better quality, less frequent videos. So that opens up like your whole day to go get a job. And so I don't know, I just feel like this is so obtainable to me, but...
Mariner that came out in the 90s.
Oh, dude, Adrian, I didn't know you're in New Zealand, man. Sorry, I'm going to pause again. We were just watching, like, Hobbiton, like a YouTube... I'm going to nerd out a little here. I'm not really much of a nerd. Like, I don't dress up or anything, but like, I do love those movies. My dad loves those movies, so that movie is, like, those movies are magical. It reminds me of my dad, and so it always warms my heart. So we were watching... you know, about New Zealand and you know, the tour you could take of Hobbiton, and I would love to be able to do that with my family, but it'll, you know, probably never happen because everything's so expensive. But pretty cool, man. New Zealand's a great country.
That had a 4 hertz movement, had a ratcheting bezel, but didn't have all the gaudy Cerachrome blingy bits and maxi case looking stuff. That's
What a
probably
generic
an
watch.
exit
You can get a $50 DH-Gate special that will look exactly like that. Again, there's going to be differences, but I just don't see the point.
watch for me. We can all dream, can't we?
You're not, this isn't dreaming. This is super, the Rolex owners are constantly acting like this is a Phatkat. Like, there's a big difference between $100,000 on a watch and $15,000 to $20,000 on a watch. $15,000 to $20,000 is obtainable for almost anybody. Like, anybody with a regular Walmart job can get this watch. Now, granted, if you are paying rent and all this stuff, and, you know, let's say, again, if you're a young guy living at home with his parents, something like that, super obtainable, right? I feel like a lot of these YouTubers are, but not I'm not saying this guy at all, right? But you know, I just feel like this is... People who are Rolex fans, they act like this is such an unobtainable item. It really is not. Just go to eBay, you'll find thousands of pre-owned ones.
So there you go, my 2025 laid out for all to see. We all know that this is not how this hobby works, especially if you're a watch reviewer. You can get all sorts of watches from different brands you could fall in love with and completely change your pathway and your watch goals. All that I can...
Watch goals are kind of... I don't feel like watch collecting, it requires goals. You know what I mean? Like, I guess if you're looking at really expensive watches, the only one really that I've seen on there that was really, I think, a bigger purchase is the Rolex. Like, the Tudor, all those, like, super obtainable. Like, if you can rationalize spending like $2,000 for a watch, like, that's just pretty easy to do, right? So, I mean, I don't see why this is really a goal. This is where people overcomplicate watch collecting. Like, it's some... kind of like, you gotta have a lot of knowledge to do this. Like, this is fucking easy.
Guarantee to you is I'm definitely going to have a new Seiko at the end of the year and definitely have at least 5 new Casios. But with you guys, what's your next watch purchase? Are you hanging back just to see if the price goes down in 2025?
Now, see, here's the thing. Here's a guy who's considered a watch expert. So now we're stating, are the watch prices, are we seeing if they're going to go down? Because if you ask the watch snob, they're going to tell you that the price is constantly going up. So this is just, again, the people, and I'm not dissing on him at all, but this is constantly where people in the watch community, the watch snobs, are constantly telling me, you're going to make money with Rolex. I invest in watches. You're going to make money all the time. They go up 5% per year. It's like bullshit. Like you wouldn't have a guy like this saying, "Are we going to wait for the price to go down?" We constantly hear YouTubers talk about the price going down. So if the price is going down, then you're not making money on your investment.
And does this year mark a big anniversary for you? And if so, what watch are you marking this occasion with?
I'm not.
Whatever you.
I'm not marking any occasion with any watch with any occasion. If there's a watch tomorrow I want to see, I'm gonna go buy it.
Get in 2025, even if it's a Tissot, I offer you nothing but good health, people. You do you, and don't let anyone change your mind about any opinion you have on any watch. Because
Totally agree with him. Totally agree. Even though I'm critiquing this, buy what makes you happy. Doesn't mean it's for me. It's just, but these, not him, but a lot of these watch shops are constantly telling people who like the less expensive brands, definitely on this channel. I'm surprised we haven't got any knuckleheads in the chat today. It's constantly telling me how, you're wasting your money. One guy the other day was like, I have a Rolex and fine art in a house. Like, I don't have those things. Like, you could have affordable watches and still have house and art. I mean, I don't have any art. I'm not really an art guy. I have affordable art, right? I'm not looking to spend thousands of dollars on art. I'd rather put it in the bank or buy something that really makes me happy, like a fifth car. So, I mean, I just don't... It always comes down to buying what you like, buy what you afford, buy what makes you happy. But a lot of times, unfortunately, people are always trying to bash others for what they like, right? So, and ultimately, it comes down to jealousy. Richard, so let me just kind of finish his video, and then we'll do some Q&A here.
at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be wearing it. But if you are going to buy this one, don't show me a picture of it. Thanks for watching.
Of course, the watch snob has to. Again, this is, now I gotta say, fuck him, right? So this is where the watch snob has to, of course, try to be nice, but then at the very end, appease the watch snob, kiss the ring, and insult the Invicta wearer, right? Now, Invicta is not my style either, right? I can agree with that, but you don't have to try to insult people who might like that. So again, this guy just went from, we're here to a shitbag. And, what a hypocrite. So just staying, buy what you like because you're the one that's going to wear it, and then he has to throw in his dig. Like, it's okay for him to wear that baby blue fucking rubber thing on his wrist and that ridiculous Casio shirt. Like, that's okay, but yet the Invicta isn't. And this is where people who live in glass houses should not throw stones. There's nothing wrong, personally, there's nothing wrong with the Casio shirt. There's nothing wrong with that blue monstrosity he's got on his wrist. But you can't wear things like that and then try to insult something that just you don't like. And this is ultimately done for the audience. This is for the watch snob. And it's really unfortunate, but it is what it is. It doesn't surprise me.
Watch until the end. If you want a bit more of the Mad Watch Collector, click there and join. But if I've got you for a few more minutes,
don't want any
why
more.
don't you click this one? This is sensation.
We might have to do another one on this guy. But anyway, so there we go. Our Richard just said it's all about supply and demand, and that will always dictate the prices. Absolutely. I just find it just comical when people... This is a very simple concept, supply and demand. And I just don't understand why. I don't know if the watch snobs are just delusional or if they know they're lying. It's hard to really put my brain around somebody not using the kind of common sense to just arbitrarily state, it's going to increase, price going to increase 5% every year. Which, that just like, you can go to eBay and look at the thousands of Rolex watches that aren't selling, right? That are selling for less. I mean, so I just don't understand this argument. Yeah, absolutely. If you bought a solid gold Rolex back in the 80s, yeah, absolutely it's going to be worth more. There might be specific watch models that have become very desirable to those with money that are going to appreciate. But there's lots of generic watches that... Man, that is an ugly watch. Look at that, dude. How can you wear that baby? Now, don't get me wrong. I like baby blue, so I'm just kind of making a point here. But fucking look at that watch. Look at that monstrosity he's wearing. Anyway, but it is always about supply and demand, right? If there is a desire for something, a company makes a watch, right? And they sell it for $100. And within, a couple months, that watch totally sells out. then when they do a re-release, they're going to up their price, right? That's just how it works. Supply and demand. And I don't understand why this concept is so foreign to the watch snob, but anyway. But kind of cool to be able to use this software and critique other watch reviewers. If you haven't checked out my video I did the other day on a watch reviewer from the past, I did one on his critique of a gift he got for some occasion. He just awful watch snob. And then I did one the other day on the Time Teller. Do a comparison, a ridiculous comparison for 3 different watch brands. So it's just kind of it's interesting to hear what how these folks think. I don't know if they script this just for the video or if they actually really feel this. But as always, be careful with who you listen to. And at the end of the day, when you're going to make a purchase, if you say, hey, and this is common sense here, but I'm repeating anyway. If you're looking to buy a watch, like my coworker is a perfect example. I started talking about watches and showing him what I'm into, and he went and found the watch that he ultimately spoke to him, right? And then he shared it with me. He's like, this is the one I got this Seiko, right? Now, of course, I'm like, well, you can get more bang for your buck with a different brand, but Seiko is a very well-respected brand. It's been around for a very long time. It's cool to have one in your collection, right? And so, again, I wasn't like, no, dude, don't buy the Seiko. I was like, that's the watch for you then. So is it a nice quality watch? Sure. Can you get a watch that does the same thing with equal quality for a third of the price? Absolutely. But ultimately, it's got the name Seiko on it. And so there's nothing wrong with buying a watch from many different brands, but just know that across the board, most watches are pretty comparable in quality, with the real main difference is a couple of those check boxes I talk about and price, what a company wants to charge. So with that being said, anybody have any other questions here? See who we still got in here. Not many. Oh, well, maybe that'll change eventually. All right, folks. Well, if you catch us on the rerun, go ahead and drop a comment and let me know if you're going to make a purchase. You have a brand question, by all means, let me know. I have a pretty good idea of what you get for your money across most brands. So have a fantastic day, folks, and take care.